Reconvene, and we thank everyone for their indulgence. We have little control over when the roll calls on the floor are called. So we thank each of you, and let me just begin my own questioning by first making a statement and then asking some questions. In the United States, the average cost, including building and operation costs for new solar and wind generation in 2021 was $36 and $38 per megawatt hour, respectively. Again, that's for solar, $36, wind, $38 per megawatt hour. In contrast, the comparable cost for some of the most efficient natural gas generation was $60 for a megawatt hour, and the coal generation was $108 for a megawatt hour. So let's go back over those numbers again. $36 for solar, $38 for wind, $60 for natural gas, and $108 for coal. So for coal, it's triple the cost of solar and nearly triple that of wind. Fossil fuel costs have spiked after the Russian invasion of Ukraine, and since their price is set on a global market, these hikes and disruptions are likely to continue. On the other hand, renewables have remained reliable and affordable. As highlighted in the TVA's recent financial report, natural gas prices increased 141% in June compared to last year, and coal prices also soared. While the TVA's supply of zero carbon energy helped keep costs down, TVA is falling alarmingly behind the rest of the country in adopting renewable energy into its grid. Mr. Rennick, do you believe that investments in low-cost renewable energy can help the TVA bring down consumer costs, all while supporting grid resilience and our climate and environmental goals?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do believe that Tennessee Valley Authority, being the largest public utility in the company, should be a leader in searching for renewable energy. I do believe that renewable energy can possibly bring down the cost of electricity.
Well, you know, in addition to bringing down energy costs for consumers, increasing the percentage of renewable energy in the TVA power mix can also attract new businesses to the Tennessee Valley. Mr. Rich, do you agree that increasing the proportion of renewables in the TVA power mix could help draw more companies to the region?
I do, Mr. Chairman.
Companies like Google and other tech companies, they like to have all renewables in terms of their plant's operation. So do you agree that there might be actually additional economic benefits, for example, in drawing these companies to the cleanest and cheapest and most reliable megawatt of energy, but simultaneously reducing dramatically the greenhouse gases?
I do believe that, Mr. Chairman. I believe that that Tennessee Valley Authority should pursue all of those opportunities. As I've stated, economic development is my background and my passion, and meeting the needs and the requirements of companies that could come into the Tennessee Valley region. Renewables will play a major part in that. I do believe that.
Okay, so Mr. Rich, could you answer those same questions about the role of wind and solar and the jobs it might draw, the reduction in the cost actually per kilowatt hour, per megawatt hour in installing new equipment?
Yes, sir. Thank you for the question. TVA, as said, is a leader and should be a leader in any kind of technology and improving the cost, the megawatt cost, and I think that is something that's in the plan, the current plan of the TVA. But as you asked the question as it relates to the job situation, I definitely think companies respond to that, and they are putting that as a requirement before they will consider locating somewhere that there be a significant amount of renewable power, and we have seen that in the case of several situations in particular.
So, so thank you. The TVA has the worst efficiency record among all utilities in the Southeast, achieving only 1% in efficiency savings per year. It's the worst in the entire region. to all the nominees here today, if confirmed, will you support energy efficiency programs that exceed this 1% per year in efficiency savings so that there could be more energy saved? Mr. White?
Absolutely. Always looking for ways to keep things efficient.
Yeah, well, my mother always said she was going to donate my brain to Harvard Medical School. That's a completely unused human organ. And she said that because she said, Eddie, you just have to learn how to work smarter and not harder. And that's energy efficiency in a nutshell, okay? That's just working smarter. Of course, a lot of people will want to build more facilities, but if you don't need them, it's not a megawatt, it's a negawatt. Just a negawatt. We never needed it, right? It's just a savings. And so that's pretty much, from my perspective, what we really need to focus upon more. Given the reliability, cost savings, and climate benefits that renewable energy brings to consumers, it is shocking to me that only 3% of TVA's electricity is generated from solar and from wind. As I said earlier in my opening statement, in Massachusetts, which is neither particularly windy nor sunny, 21% of our electricity is generated from wind and solar. It seems astoundingly high, doesn't it? That Massachusetts is 21% wind and solar. We're just getting started, by the way. Our goal is to go to 30, 40, 50, and more percent. And we just shouldn't be that far ahead of all of these states that you represent, which are much more sunny than we are. So if the rainy day Bay State can figure this out, I just would hope that each of you, as you serve on the TVA, are able to get those same benefits, for your consumers. Mr. Rich, as someone who has experience on the TVA board, do you think that TVA could do more to prioritize renewable and affordable energy resources, including rooftop solar and energy efficiency in its planning? Mr. Rich?
Excuse me. Yes, sir, I think that energy efficiency and all those different options you mentioned are extremely important to the future of TVA, and they should be reviewed. And as a board member, I assure you that I will look into that and get back as to whether or not we're taking advantage of all the opportunities that are available.
So, Mr. White, Mr. Rennick, same question.
Appreciate the question, Mr. Chairman. One of the things that struck me when you were talking back on solar, the way I understand it, looking in from the outside, I'm not privy to all the information, but they have a planned right now for about 10,000 megawatts of solar. And when I was watching the board meeting the other day, they were talking about how they're moving forward to this, but they can't get the equipment. It can't be installed. I understand that. I'm from Lyon County. We've got an 800-acre one that was supposed to go in this year, and we're way behind on that. So that's going to be something that I'm going to want to learn more about. Why we can't move forward is it simply because of the backup that everybody's experiencing throughout the country. Another thing that you brought up earlier about businesses, I think businesses are pushing for renewables just as much as anyone. And that's one thing that TVA is doing with the Green Invest, where they worked with the city of Knoxville. In Kentucky, they worked with the Corvette. You got Ford. All these are requesting the ability to have renewables. And with Green Invest, that's what they're doing. I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, and in Georgia, a Korean company is going to come in. They're already there. And they're going to expand and expand and expand and expand and expand their solar component part capacity to a point where they will be able to produce components that are upwards of 15,000 megawatts equivalent per year. And so they're kind of anticipating it, and Georgia is right down there, similarly situated in terms of then the ability to use this equipment in all the TVA states. And again, ultimately, long run, we just have to break this dependence upon about oil and natural gas, we can see how the prices are skyrocketing for families. And some of the poorest, lowest income families in America live in the TVA region. And so they become subject to crazy price hikes that are caused, in this case, in this instance, because of the Ukrainian war. What does that have to do with somebody who's a low-income resident of the TVA region when the sun and the solar is going to be there independent of any, foreign power in the years ahead? So just moving in that direction, I think, makes a lot of sense. The Biden administration has already called for a zero-carbon electricity grid by 2035, and it is deeply discouraging that the TVA, the nation's largest public power provider, does not intend to achieve net zero carbon emissions until 2050. On top of that, TVA has even implemented rate spikes to discourage consumers from using rooftop solar. And instead of replacing its largest coal plant with a low-cost, zero-carbon energy source, TVA has instead proposed building a new natural gas plant that it plans to run for years to come. TVA is putting up blockades for clean, cheap energy while rolling out the red carpet for polluting facilities that are going to blow through our clean electricity targets. Because of all the nuclear that's already in the TVA region, you have a big lead towards meeting President Biden's goals by 2035, and instead, you're moving in a different direction. And again, nuclear gives you a baseload capacity. You don't have the excuse that other regions might have to need some additional natural gas to provide baseload. You already have that with the nuclear. So it just doesn't make any sense. From wildfires to floods, the Tennessee Valley region is deeply affected by the climate crisis. Climate change has already threatened economic development and the environment and reliable energy production in the region. It's real, it's caused by human activity, and it is something that you could really lead on. And I think in the long run, my father always said, Eddie, try to start out where you're going to be forced to wind up anyway, because it's prettier that way. So I just say to you, try to start out looking at where you're going to be in 10 years anyway. You'll be surrounded by everyone who has surpassed you when you had a running head start to be the leader. And it just will not be a good legacy to look back upon if you had the technological capacity to move forward. So to all of the nominees here today, do you agree that climate change threatens the Tennessee Valley region? Do you all agree with that? Mr. Rich?
Yes, I agree.
Senator, since I became judge 12 years ago, 2 years before that, we received a 100-year ice storm. Since then, I've had two 100-year floods in my county. We just had a tornado cut through in December that destroyed a lot of our homes in our county. So I've seen climate change.
Is that a yes?
Yes, sir.
Okay, beautiful. Thank you. And Mr. Rennick?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, I do believe that climate change is taking place.
Okay. And do you believe that we should be adopting strong renewable energy targets, Mr. Rennick?
I think that, Mr. Chairman, that the TVA should be a leader in seeking out solutions to these problems in efficiency, not only at the generation of electric power, but also at the user end efficiency. I think Tennessee Valley Authority should be a leader in supporting weatherization programs for the consumer, along with the renewable support that they should be leading in at the generation of electricity in the front end.
All right, so Mr. White, Mr. Rich will each allow you to answer, then I can recognize Senator Whitehouse for his questions. Mr. White.
Thank you, sir. Everything's on the table for me. I want to see all the information that TVA has. I want to see all the information that you'd be willing to provide. Anytime there's something before us, that you can provide, I'd love to see that, and we'll work with you the best I can.
All right, Mr. Rich?
Yes, sir, I agree. I think that that is one of the issues we need to continue to address, and I think that TVA has an obligation as one of the leaders in innovation. It should be addressing that issue. So yes, sir, I agree.
Okay, great, thank you.